Welcome to another edition of On Air Belmont. My name is Suzzanne Cromwell. I'm your host for the show. Today we're going to be talking with Selectman Paul Solomon, who just a couple of weeks ago announced that he would not be running for Selectman, up for re-election for Selectman in April of next year. And we're here to talk to Mr. Solomon about what he sees for Belmont, about a little bit of his history here in Belmont, and we'll hopefully touch on other things as well. And I called you Mr. Solomon. It's actually Dr. Paul Solomon. Welcome to our show.
I answer to either.
You answer to either. Thank you so much for wanting to be on the
pleasure.
show. And we actually have quite a lot to talk about. I'm going to dive right into it. Let's talk about Belmont's local government. You've made it very, very clear that you're extremely proud of what has been accomplished here in Belmont the last several years. And you have been a selectman for the town for a little over 5 years. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about what that experience has been like, what it means to serve the town, and what it might mean for someone interested in public service.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Suzzanne. First of all, in answer to the question what it's been like, it's been one of the most exciting and stimulating experiences of my life, and that's not an exaggeration. I've lived in town almost 46 years, and I practiced pediatrics in town for many years, and I thought I knew a lot of people in town, but running for selectman almost 6 years ago, and meeting just hundreds of people that I really hadn't known before, has been a wonderful, wonderful experience for me and my family. And it also gave me an opportunity, although I'd been involved to some extent in town government, it gave me an opportunity to really understand and know what it's like to be part of a municipal government. And this is a very, very important piece of government. And one of the things that saddens me is that the turnout for elections, for local government elections in April, our annual elections are in April, is almost invariably smaller than it is for those at the state or the federal level. And when you think about it, the vote you cast in your local election carries a lot more weight in so many ways than the elections on the state or the federal level. And so I'd love people to, if nothing else comes of this, I'd love people to understand that their votes are important, and that the issues that come up at the annual town elections and sometimes other elections are extremely important and affect them directly. So
Do you have any idea what might be the cause for this decline?
I think people are busy. I think our voting, this country's voting record, and I'm pitching this statement to the young people who will be coming toward their registration for voting for the first time. The history in this country of voting, as you very well know, is not great. If we get 50% in a national election, we're very excited. Whereas in countries have only recently gotten the opportunity to participate in their own government, people stand in line for hours in order to get to vote. So I just would hope that we would become more interested. People are very busy in our lifetimes, and that's another issue, I'm sure. However, that would be my main point.
Now, as far as your role as selectman, why don't you talk a little bit about that role in particular? I have a feeling a lot of folks don't really know the responsibilities, even the day-to-day responsibilities, if there are those. So maybe you could briefly highlight what it is a selectman member does for the town.
Well, the selectmen, Belmont has a three-person board of selectmen, and in a sense it's the executive body of the town. So you might say that we're a three-headed CEO. Many towns in Massachusetts have a five-person board of selectmen. Like all the other towns in Massachusetts, or I should say most other towns in Massachusetts and throughout the New England, we have a legislative body called town meeting. And town meeting can be a so-called representative body where the town meeting members are elected by precinct, or it can be an open town meeting where anybody who's a registered voter can vote. And I've always felt that the representative town meeting is as close as you could, almost as close as you can get to the true democratic roots because each town meeting member represents about 80 people, and it becomes a very potentially wonderful way of having everyone in town express his or her preferences by voting for town meeting member. The selectmen, being the executive body, are responsible for bringing issues to the town meeting, the town's budget, making appointments, and being sure that the town is run in an appropriate way. Now, given Belmont's government and structure, we have a town administrator who, if you compare us to the corporation, if the selectmen are the CEO, then the town administrator is the chief operating officer, or the so-called COO, and he's really responsible for the day-to-day running of the town. We have an enormous number of committees, which I think we have 40 committees.
Is that usual in local
I think
government?
so. I think it's the case in most towns. And the committees are mostly appointed by the selectmen, although some of the most important ones are run by the moderator, are appointed by the moderator being the person who runs the town meeting. And the moderator appoints the warrant committee or finance committee, he appoints the capital budget committee, and he appoints all but one member of the permanent building committee. But the rest of the committees are appointed by the selectmen, including very crucial committees like the planning board. And these committees are truly the basic structure of the town. We couldn't function without a planning board, without a zoning board of appeals, without a conservation commission. And the town meeting meets usually annually, but may also meet, in recent years, we've been meeting 2 or 3 times in addition for special issues. The role of the selectmen, you're the leader. You're in the public eye, especially with television now in Belmont Media Center. And the role of selectmen is in many ways to use the bully pulpit, so-called. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt who said that for the first time, to state out front what needs to be done. What are the issues that are before the public? What must pass? Building projects, zoning bylaws, changing the appearance and the vitality of the town business centers, which we've made, I think, a lot of progress. Not quite as much as I would like, but a lot of progress. So it's being a leader and trying to think forwardly in many different areas. I'm going to stop there and let you ask me another question.
There's so many questions that are popping in. Now, given that the selectmen are, there's 3 of you here in Belmont, and you had just mentioned that that's slightly fewer than maybe other towns, and obviously each of you has, you are individuals and you have your own personalities and your own likes and dislikes and your wants and desires for the town. How does it work when there are 3 individuals in this, working together in this capacity? How does it work to serve the public, given that there are 3 different people trying to get the work of one body done, if you can kind of understand? Is there give and take within the selectmen's?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, as there is in any group. I think the basic requirement for any group to make progress in any area is trust and respect. And if you don't have trust and respect and feel that you can have an open conversation with your colleagues without being personally attacked, and with them understanding that this is your point of view, they may disagree with it, but as long as they can respect it, that's fine. That's the basic issue. And I feel very comfortable in saying that while we've had many differences on the board in the past 5.5 years, as always will happen, I think that we, in every respect, whether I've worked with Anne Marie Mahoney or Will Brownsberger, Angelo Ferenzi, or now Dan LeClaire, there's always been that mutual respect, even though the difference of opinion prevails, and that's fine. And that's the basic piece. And if you have that, then collaboration will follow. Now, there are some 2-to-1 votes, obviously, and I've been on both sides of those. But it's something that I looked forward in my campaign to, hoping we could have on the Board of Selectmen. Not to say that it hadn't been there before, but I think we've been able to accomplish that over the last 5 years.
Now, what about the people? Now, I know that working with the public has obviously been, I mean, you are a retired pediatrician, and so working with the public is something that you've really adored. What about the people? We're going to probably go to a break, but before we go to that break, what about the people that you've encountered as a selectman being in office? It's 5 years is a small amount of time given the amount of time you've spent in Belmont. Or serving the public, but maybe you can talk about just this little 5-year service.
Well, as I said, I've met an enormous number of people that I had not known before. I've met many different kinds of people in my professional career, people from all ethnic backgrounds, all races, all economic backgrounds. But I think I've been even more impressed with the diversity in some areas. In Belmont, and I've been impressed with the fact that many people are very concerned about their community. Many people obviously have their own individual concerns, which are appropriate, and we are in the privileged position of hearing about all of that. I have not had as many calls as one might think about the roads aren't good. I mean, the roads, everybody knows the roads are bad, but, and we're working on that. But I've had calls about a number of things, and some of them are very minor, and some of them are very major, but they're all very important to the individual who makes the call. And I've felt very comfortable that I've been able to help in some situations, and perhaps not as many as I wanted to. But I think my overriding answer to your question is the diversity of interests and backgrounds that we have in this town.
And that is growing. As you
yes,
say.
and it's well, yes.
The
yes.
diversity.
Yeah.
We're actually going to take a really short break now, and we're speaking today with Selectman Paul Solomon, and we will be right back.
Hello, everyone. My name is Todd Bloniarz, longtime producer of Time Out for Sports Talk here at the Belmont Media Center. And we are on every month, of course, with a live call-in show. We also are going to be having a special open house coming up on January the 9th. Certainly plenty of fun, exciting things on the Boston sports scene to talk about. The Red Sox offseason always busy, and the Patriots, of course, in the midst of a very magical season, or what hopefully will continue to be a magical season. We'll be previewing an upcoming playoff game, we certainly hope, on January the 9th. And we'd like you to be a part of our special open house. We're inviting anyone in town who would like to come in and check out, see what we're doing. Get a chance to actually see a live program in action as opposed to just like watching it on television. Howie McClellan and I will be here along with our special guests, so we hope you can be a part of it here at the Belmont Media Center. Time Out for Sports Talk, special open house edition, Wednesday, January 9th, 8 o'clock.
Welcome back. We're back from our break, and we're talking today with Selectman Paul Solomon, who is here. We're going to continue the conversation talking about the importance of involvement in your local town government. And why don't you continue talking about what we were touching on before the break? You'd also mentioned volunteerism, that you find that a very important role that people can play in their communities.
I mentioned the committees, the very crucial part of town government that is played by people who volunteer to be members of committees. We have a database for that I helped set up early in my term, and people can go online and register in that database and look at the number of committees we have and match their skills to the committees, and then the selectmen look at that, and it's used as a base for which we can make the appointments. But I also wanted to talk about several items which I'm very pleased about, and they're what I call lifestyle issues. And let me touch on three areas. that have been developed by citizens who came up with the ideas themselves and who did their excellent work at no cost to the town, minimal cost to the town, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. First one I want to mention is the farmers market. I think it's an extraordinary community event that occurs in Belmont Center and on the parking lot Thursday afternoons from mid-June to late October, and it's a gathering place. It's getting fresh produce. It's getting the farmers locally to come and meet the public, and it becomes a wonderful advantage for all of us. And I've tasted tomatoes from that market I've never tasted
And
before.
I've seen tomatoes that are just unbelievable. It seems to be a wonderful success.
It really is, and I believe it very strongly. And that was begun, carried forth, and it continues to move, and I'm assuming it will continue to go in the future. We had some discussions with our local businesses to try to make it as compatible with their moving forward as possible. Second thing I'd like to mention is the Belmont Gallery of Art. It's now ensconced in the Homer Building. It is an example of the culture. Now, the Cultural Council, I said no funds from the town. Cultural Council does get some small amount of money from the state. And the Cultural Council is appointed by the Selectmen. But the idea of establishing our own gallery in the second floor of the Homer Building, that wonderful kind of meeting room that we have there, is the lighting is wonderful, the artwork. It gives an opportunity for local artists to display their work. Now, recently we've had only Belmont people displaying their work.
I know that there was a show there recently. Oh, like you said, just for Belmont
And
artists.
we've also had in the spring, they have a middle school student show, and then they have a high school show. And I think that's a marvelous way for people who have an artistic bent to be able to show their productions. And that also is the town obviously does pay for some of the heating and lighting and minimal custodian involvement, but since it's now done only within town working hours, except on special receptions, the cost is extremely minimal, and I'm quite sure it is borne by the Cultural Council through the state grant. And the third one I will mention, but I think you're going to be doing a special on it some other time, is the Waverly Trail, which is a historic trail in Waverly Square. The idea was brought to us, to me, by Jim Levitt in town, and I think you will be talking more about it. But the only cost to the town was the labor of hanging the banners, but everything else was done in a very done based on private contributions, and it's real enhanced the whole area in the Waverly Square, from the old fire station where there are now condos all the way to the so-called spray pond beyond Andrew's Diner. So I think those are three examples that I'm very excited by, of people bringing the idea to the Selectmen, and those initiatives don't get done unless somebody on the Board of Selectmen, it wasn't always me, I don't mean to imply that, responds and says, let's try to move this forward.
And it must have been really encouraging for those particular people to see that their ideas
That's right.
and their passions actually, they made it happen with your help.
But there has to be a responsive voice among the leadership of the town, whether it's the selectman, town administrator, so on. But going back to one of the things that you said in the beginning, what does it mean to be a selectman? You have the opportunity, I mentioned the bully pulpit, you have the opportunity to get the ear of various people, both in town government and outside of town government. And you have to use it wisely or carefully, but if you use it constructively, you can get things done.
Now, is there anything that you can tell us about that, any projects that maybe the selectmen are working on right now with regard to maybe something that a citizen has come forward with, any ideas, anything coming down the road?
Well, there are issues before the board now that I won't necessarily say, won't necessarily say a particular citizen has come forward with, but the Belmont Land Trust came to us several months ago and said that they'd like to see us look into the possibility of going toward having Belmont become a recipient of, well, let's call it the Community Preservation Act, which is an act from the legislature which gives some money to the community, which must be matched by the community, for three areas: preservation of open space, historical preservation, and affordable housing. And those three areas, the minimum amount that you contribute to any one of the three areas is 10%, and the rest can be divided up among the other two areas. And a number of communities have joined that act. There's a lot of questions about it because we would have to ask the town to increase taxes by anywhere from 1% to 3%, which is not a small amount in this day and age with the many other things that we have before us. But that's an issue I'm hoping will come within the next several months. And that was brought to us by a town committee.
That's wonderful.
Yep, which is a good example of that.
We're actually, I wanted to just maybe take us a little bit off course. We just have a couple more minutes.
Okay.
But folks might know, I actually am the program coordinator for the Senior Center. And the building of the new Senior Center has something that you and also Phil Solomon, your wonderful wife, who was very involved in the town as well. Both of you have been so incredibly supportive, and now it looks like that project is really on its way. And I think, well, first and foremost, we want to thank you for that, actually, and also your passion for the older population here in Belmont. I mean, it's just really been quite wonderful to have that support, and you've been very involved with us, and you and I speak pretty frequently. We have you come to the Senior Center, every month to talk to our folks there. So we do want to thank you for that, and I'm sure that it's been something that you really enjoyed, and hopefully you'll miss us, but hopefully you'll come visit.
Well, I have to point out that I am a member of that senior population,
yes.
So part of it may be self-serving. But the Senior Center, making the Senior Center become a reality, Belmont's own Senior Center, was part of the goals that I set when I joined the board. Now, I don't mean to imply that I'm the only one. My colleagues on the board have also been supportive. But it is something that is now going to happen. I want to be sure that all the seniors I talk with who say, I wonder if it'll ever happen in my lifetime, yes, it will. The bids are going to be opened in another couple of weeks, and hopefully the process of deciding who will do the construction will happen by the end of December. And I don't know when construction will begin, but it will begin.
There is a wonderful forward motion, which
there is forward motion now after
really great.
A number of obstacles, and there will still be many obstacles, and I'm very excited about that. It's something that has to happen. Belmont, I believe, is one of the two communities in eastern Massachusetts that does not have its own senior center. We have a senior center, but it's in a building that is not in any way designed for its needs, and of course that building is going to be probably taken out of use for us within the next 6 months, and we'll have to make some temporary arrangements, but we'll do that, and we'll get through, and I'm very excited about that. So that's one of the things that I feel very happy about.
Well, and we thank you for that. And we will end the conversation on that note. It has been absolutely wonderful to talk with you, and thanks for making the time for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.
You're very welcome. And this is Suzzanne Cromwell, and we were just visiting with Selectman Paul Solomon, who actually just released a couple of weeks ago that he will not be running up for re-election for the Selectman's position next year, but he will still be quite involved
yes.
in our local community. Thank you so much, Dr. Solomon, and thank you all for joining us today, and we hope we'll see you again in a future show of Air Belmont. I'm Suzzanne Cromwell. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Todd Bloniarz, longtime producer at the Belmont Media Center for Time Out for Sports Talk, and happy to get involved with the Media Center. If you have a passion, if there's something you'd really like to see on this channel, on any of the channels here at the Belmont Media Center, come on down, take the workshops, produce your own program. That's what it's all about. This is Access Television. It's about the people, so you have an opportunity to be a part of it. So if you're interested, come on down, and you too can be a local star.